We're going to be talking about plastic waste today. We're delving into the topic that concerns us all on Flipside. I'm talking about plastic waste awareness and regulations in Nigeria. It's no secret that plastic waste is becoming a growing menace in our beloved country. Improper disposal, lack of awareness actually causing serious environmental damages, threatening our delicate ecosystem, and also affecting the quality of life for future generations. However, we are not standing by idly. No. Nigeria is actually taking critical steps towards tackling this issue head on, and Lagos State is taking the lead. Through this television show today, we are hoping to raise awareness, to educate our viewers, to ignite a sense of urgency and collective responsibility towards the reduction and proper management of plastic waste in Nigeria. Discussing this topic with me is Melody Einaya. She's an environmental rights activist. She's actually the project officer and waste management environmental rights action, which is also Friends of the Earth. All right, so she's on the field. They've been talking about this for years now, and I want to see how far the Aluta against plastic has succeeded. Lagos State, as sometimes the way Lagos acts makes me wonder if they are part of Nigeria, they are just a country of their own. They're always ahead of us, like 10 steps ahead of every other state. People have been talking about plastic waste. The UN had made it so serious. There's even an international day to talk about it. And beginning of the year, they started with the ban on plastic bottles, PET bottles for alcohol, sachet drinks. Then this week, they started enforcing the stoppage of styrofoam plates. You know that disposable, people that like abacha, there's this food they sell, abacha. It's an Igbo delicacy, but it's in the streets of Benin. When you want to buy abacha, there's a particular takeaway pack that they use. That's the one they call the styrofoam. Those people use that one. It's as if that's the only plate they recommended for them. So Lagos is already enforcing the stoppage of it. They go to shops. If they find it in your shop, they destroy it. If you find it in your party, you're in trouble and all of that. So let's talk a little bit about your personal opinion with what's going on in Lagos. There's even a recent outcry now that they shouldn't just put that ban outrightly. They should be given some time. People invested in these drinks. They have to sell off. They're going to lose in the billions. And they were even saying about 5.5 million jobs will be lost if you stop this. But what's your own personal opinion as an environmental rights activist and as a Nigerian?
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to discuss plastic pollution. My opinion on the issue of ban on plastics in Lagos State is that it's a good decision in a right direction. Because when we talk about plastics, it's not just an environmental issue, it is also a health issue. And talking about the ban in Lagos State, we found out that already, just like you said, they are enforcing it because they have come to understand that these plastics are already dealing with us. In fact, as we speak, plastic waste is about eating us up in the country. So if Lagos can get it right, we believe that every other state would get it right. So for us in the environmental advocacy sector, it is something we have been asking for. So Lagos State taking the lead is actually an interesting way to start the year for us. So we'll keep pushing that it will be extended to other single-use plastics.
Interesting. Okay, but on a personal note, this cry for the extension, do you also think they've already started enforcing, especially the styrofoam, but the plastic bottles, because of the loss in investments, do you think they should give extension, or let's just go ahead and deal with this like right now, right now?
Well, as a Nigerian, understanding what is going on in the country, uh, looking at our economy, which is already a mess, on a personal grant, I would have actually asked for that extension. But the truth is that there is no time given to investors that is enough. There is no time. So if you give them time, they will think that you will reconsider. Then you are also giving room to negotiation. But government does not need negotiation in this issue. They want an outright ban, and that is what they have done.
Interesting. Okay, now, still using Lagos as a case study, because if it can succeed in Lagos, chances are it will succeed in other states
Sure.
over time. But what are some of the challenges you foresee? Because y'all go on the road, you're always talking about this, so you're on the field. What are some of those challenges or obstacles that could be faced in implementing this ban in Lagos?
Okay, one of the challenges that I think that will be faced is the cultural belief. You know, we Nigerians, we are used to packaging our food with the styrofoam and all of that. You go to party, somebody is having a takeaway pack somewhere he wants to use. So that will be a challenge, but with time, we will adapt to the new system. Then the other challenge is the industry-wise, just like they are saying that they already have products that they need to sell off. So shifting might be an issue, but we can actually work towards it. It's something we can work on. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, at what point do you think the other states should start joining? I mean, we've been talking about plastic waste for a long time. I know last year we were here talking about this, and then talking about how it was even last year I found that the materials for making the plastic is actually from crude.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but when would you say other states should start joining this fight? And in your opinion, what additional measures or regulations could be implemented for that to reduce plastic pollution? So Lagos is saying, I don't want to see this takeaway plates in this particular, not all the takeaway plates for now. They're starting with styrofoam. Well, are there other things you would ask they should add to not just Lagos, generally, for other states who are prepping to join them? And how long should we wait and watch Lagos before we join?
Well, for us in the NGO sector, we have been pushing for this. So it's actually a win for us. So whenever we engage with state governments, this is one of the things, the demands we tender. So we are hoping that the other states should key in immediately. Already, Abia State have keyed in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Abia State banned styrofoams and plastic, single-use plastics. So we are hoping that other states, and Abuja, Federal Ministry of Environment, have already banned the use of single-use plastic in their environment.
Oh.
That if you are entering their ministry complex, you are not permitted to work in with a plastic. So we are hoping that soonest it will spread the whole of Abuja. From there, every other state will pick it up and go. Then coming to measures, other measures that we can add to it. What is happening in Lagos State currently is just the ban on styrofoams. Is as if, or let me say that they are still working towards banning the entire single-use plastics. Because when we talk about single-use plastics, we talk about plates, we talk about straw, we talk about utensils, we talk about the plastic bags that we use. So the other measure is banning completely so that we can reduce plastic waste. Then the other second thing that we are projecting or asking for for us at ERA, what we are asking for is the establishment of extended producer responsibility programs. What are these programs? These programs shift responsibility of management of plastic waste from consumers to producers. We are asking that this responsibility should be shifted to the producers. If producers can produce plastics, they should be able to manage their waste. Because just like Benin, when you move into the Benin metropolis, you find out that everywhere is filled up with plastics. And there are brands that have these plastics. What are they doing about it? Just last year, we conducted a brand audit in Benin City just to determine the highest polluting brands in Benin. And the result was quite something else. Already you know who should be the highest polluter in Benin. So one of the actions we took was we returned their waste to them. In an action we tagged return to sender. You are trying to pollute our environment, thereby endangering our health. So we returned their waste to them. And our demand was create a withdrawal scheme for your products. You cannot be making profits from the environment and from all of us, and then you are killing us too. So these are the things that we asked for. And the other measure that we are also asking government for is something I call deposit on refund system. That is, when I buy a single-use plastic that is recyclable, I deposit a fund there. So whenever I return back the empty one, I'm able to get my refund back. That will help us reduce plastics.
Just the way we do with bottles when you buy drinks.
Exactly.
You say, I'll owe your change.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the other one is placing a fee on plastic bags. Because the other challenge we're having is plastic bags. They are everywhere and they don't biodegrade. So placing a fee on it, if you must use plastic bag, pay for it. So these are the things where the measures that can be added to improve the whole thing.
What she's actually saying right now, I'm just imagining going to a supermarket in Nigeria. I know they do this already abroad, and I'm going to shop. Then when I'm done shopping, you tell me to pack my things. I have to pay for the bag.
Exactly.
Whoa. Well, we'll start sewing shasha bags and carrying it around. But the most of my imaginations right now is when they finally, when we succeed in banning takeaway packs in general.
Yeah.
What now happens to all those party rice? Are you saying we'll go for parties that will not have takeaway? You know, Nigerian women, we have this, we must carry something home.
Yeah.
And now even if it's okay, they won't give you takeaway pack, you want to carry cellophane. Cellophane itself is not also helping. So we'll not carry cooler, everybody will see us with cooler. Hey, God. Okay, now there are other alternatives to plastics for packaging. And I've seen quite a number of videos on those. You could use stainless steel, you could use aluminium, you could use ceramics, gold, glass, a whole lot of glass and all of that. These ones you can reuse over and over again. But in a country like ours, where we hardly even produce things, and even when we do, we don't have a price regulatory body. Everything just keeps going higher and higher. When we take away plastic, plastics are one of the cheapest things we purchase. Do you think this will have a huge effect on these other minerals and other reusable materials that will now be our option?
Okay, talking about the alternatives, the truth is that before now, nobody knew that plastics would be this cheap. Nobody knew. So when we started using it, and there was competition in the market, it became cheap. So we believe that The moment we shift to these reusable alternatives, of course there will be competition. Investors will also shift, just like what is happening in Lagos now. I spoke with somebody, the person is telling me that he's going to China to look for an alternative. So if he can bring in an alternative and then his other colleague sees that he's moving, he will join him in the business. Before you know it, they will bring down the whole price. The price will come down. And it's just for a start that we might feel that impact. But as soon as the whole thing stabilizes, we are going to be very fine. Of course, we know how to adapt.
Okay, the question I was going to even ask, you've already answered about the companies that significantly contribute to this old plastic waste issues and how we can target them. But so far, so good. How effective was that your back to sender program?
Return to sender.
Return to sender.
Okay, that return to sender activity, it was bettered out of passion because of what we saw. We actually visited a community, and what we met there is what we call plastic tsunami. In fact, myself and my senior colleague, we were in tears because already their farmland is being affected. They can no longer cultivate because when they plant, they cannot harvest anything meaningful as a result of plastics in their environment. So we actually pained. So immediately after that brand audit exercise, we were able to see polluters. So we're like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? What can be our next action? We decided to send a message to these companies. We actually visited the major 2 companies in Benin. We visited them, and it's not like we do not have data. We have data. At ERA, we don't believe in what somebody is saying. We go to field. You know, we are community-based. We go to field, find out so that we can have correct information. We wouldn't be talking based on somebody told us or this or that, no. So we had correct data with us. So when we got there, we said, your plastics are polluting our environment. Of course, they know that any slightest drop of rain in Benin, everywhere is flooded. Okay, those plastics that we pulled out from the environment, they were from the gutters, our drainage systems. So you will imagine if we were able to pull up that number, it was more than 5,000 pieces. How many will still be there? And then we are complaining. So when we returned them, we demanded, 1, develop a withdrawal scheme for your product. Then start thinking how to shift to biodegradable alternatives. There are options. Or go back to your reuse bottles. It's better off. So these are some of the demands we gave to them.
Okay. Now, stopping plastic is a whole lot. It's a long-term arrangement because from the sachet water you drink, it's plastic. There've been lots of advocacy that we start using aluminium or stainless steel to make moi now. Yeah. Most people before use leaf, then later we just turn to cellophane. So I'll say it's nylon, you know. And to your toothpaste, to your hair products, your body cream, like almost everything is packaged in plastic. And maybe before Melody will go, she will tell us some of the dangers of this plastic, what it actually does. Although we still have a message from the United Nations where some scientists had to do a study on how these plastics actually break down and affects living organisms. They use birds this time around, birds who live around the waters. And so we'll push play to that video, but that will be towards the end of the show. So Melody, I'll ask you this one question before we go on a break. I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it out. All right. Are there any specific challenges or opportunities that for plastic waste recycling. I know we have, according to the last information I also gathered from you, we have a plastic recycling factory here in Edo, which is just one. But why aren't you having much more? And what are some of the challenges maybe when you went on a fact-finding mission there that they are having and they would want maybe improved on to encourage more people to come into the business? Or is it that the business is not lucrative? Because we like business where there's plenty gain, and then everybody will just enter the business with that idea and all that stuff. So what are some of the challenges these recycling companies might be facing in Nigeria? And so that we will know how to, we'll have this public-private partnership, leverage on how we can make it better. If the companies who are making it are withdrawing their waste, and the other wastes that are still there, the cellophanes and all that, can still be given to recycling companies, I think we'll all be helping ourselves in the long run.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this companies.
Opportunities, okay, let me deal with the challenges they are facing, because from time to time we try to visit them, notwithstanding the fact that at ERA we do not totally believe in recycling, but as it stands, that is the only option where we are shifting to. But not believing in it is another day discussion. So from what we have gathered from them, we found out that they are lacking materials. That is the most challenging issue for them, materials. Then I begin to ask, why are you lacking materials when the materials are all over the environment? So the issue now boils down to that withdrawal scheme that we're talking about. Now, if companies can, or let me use it, go this way, if responsibility of managing waste can be moved to corporations, now they can be able to team up with recyclers. Then the other thing is government should provide or develop a collection system to help recyclers. Because in fact, in Benin, I've never walked into a junction and I see a receptacle somewhere that people throw in their single-use plastic. I've never seen that. That would be a beautiful idea. If maybe you get to Ring Road and then there is a place you see a receptacle there, you are able to throw in your waste and all of that. That would be a helping hand for the recyclers. Although kudos to the Ministry of Environment, they are already teaming up and they're partnering with the recycling agency here in Benin to achieve something. But we really need them to do more, because that challenge, we need to tackle it. Then the other opportunity is not like there is no money in that business. There is money in the business, but how many persons have the capacity to set it up? Most people do not have that capacity to set it up. And then we also ask governments to come in. You can create this relationship on partnership. You partner with individuals so that they can be able to create it. And then competition comes into the market. It makes it interesting. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to go on the break on the show today. We're talking about plastic waste awareness. We're making awareness on plastic waste and some of the regulations we have in Nigeria. So far, so good. Lagos and Abia are already enforcing some of these regulations. Until very recently, we didn't know that plastic could be very dangerous. And I know there's still someone watching me right here wondering, why will we stop using plastic? Why will I go and buy drugs for my children in a bottle when I could use a plastic bottle so the drug falls, it doesn't break? You know, you're all wondering. But when you consider the long-term effects of all of this, I think you see reason with us. All right, we're talking about plastic waste. We're talking about regulation. We're creating awareness about how terrible it is. The program you're watching is Flipside, and I'm your host, Daisy Leo Asikili, Plastic Waste Awareness and Regulation in Nigeria. But in all the many things we've said, if you do not even know that plastic is a risk to you, you cannot understand why we are advocating or creating awareness that people need to start getting reusable bottles for their things in the house and disposing their plastic properly. But I have Melody Inaya with me in the studio. She's an environmental rights activist. She's actually from one of the environmental NGOs, big ones here in Nigeria, and she's been doing justice to this. So, but Melody, before we talk about some more regulations, let's talk about this old dangers that we are calling on, that's attached to the use of plastic. How serious is this plastic problem in Nigeria?
Well, just like I said before, the plastic waste is about eating us up in Nigeria. In fact, let me use the word is about swallowing us. Because plastic as a whole, the dangers around it is so many. One, plastic is a pollution, and there is a toxicity of it in all of its existence, right from extraction, production, transportation, consumption, and disposal. So just like we already know that plastic is produced from fossil fuel. Now, during production, there are a whole lot of pollution already. After producing it, what are the chemicals that were added to achieve that single-use plastic? You hear corporations, they will tell you, we have made our plastic packaging softer. In fact, you can feel it already that it's softer. But the question now is, that thing that made it softer, is it not affecting our health? Now, it is prone to sunlight. Anything that will add heat to it, it is prone to it. But look at us in Nigeria. In fact, some people, distributors, they
shade it under
the sun. And then when the sun reacts with the chemical, it leaches into the water. A study that we followed up recently says that the water in the can contains microplastics, that we have been taking in microplastics or this one. That is why some persons already has microplastics in their bloodstream. So it is a big issue. Then the other issue is in our marine environment. When you go to the marine environment, everywhere is filled up with plastics. And that is why we keep saying, we want fishes in our ocean, in our rivers, not your plastics. Take them away. Now, the fishes in the river, over time, they will mistake those plastics for food. They eat it, digest it. Sometimes it will tangle their system, they will die. Or if they did not die, our fishermen will end up catching them. Then we will now eat it as individuals. After eating it, we now have microplastics in our system. Now, when they eat and it tangles their system, two things happens. One of the things, study shows that it affects their reproductive system. That is to say, we already have a serious implication, not just on our food chain, but also our fishermen and women that depend on the river for their livelihood. What happens to them? So these are the issues. When you go to the town, everywhere is flooded with plastics. There's a particular street I pass sometimes. Whenever I pass there, I feel bad because everywhere is plastic, because they don't biodegrade. There is no time. They don't break down. It takes one plastic 400 years plus to break down into that microplastics. And now we are beginning to talk about issues of how are we going to manage it. Now Nigeria alone produces 2.5 million tons of plastic waste every year, and less than 9% is recycled. So the issue is so much. It is so much that we really need to act quick. We need to act quick. I pity people that still use that nylon bag to make food, because we are just killing ourselves. Yeah.
So, all right, on the final note, can you give us a little information about, like, an overview of the current regulations on plastic waste, plastic regulation policies in Nigeria as it stands?
Okay, there are regulations, but the issue we are facing is implementation and enforcement of that regulation. Last year, I think towards either June, July, NESRA developed a draft on national environmental regulation, and the focus was on plastic control. So they called on stakeholders in the waste sector to review that draft. And interestingly, that draft contains a whole lot of things. It deals with responsibility, management of that plastic, then the responsibility of the state, responsibility of the local government authority, responsibility of the producers, then where to drop or how to manage receptacles, its production, provision, and the placement of it. It dealt with a whole lot of things, but we at ERA, what we are asking for is, these are good policies. We need them to be implemented. We are waiting for it to be passed. As soon as it is passed and it becomes a law, immediately we hope that they will start enforcing it. Because enforcement is regulation. We cannot have policies or regulations seated somewhere in a paper format, and then we are suffering as a country. These issues like a vehicle that is moving and somebody throws away plastic from the vehicle, it should be sanctioned.
Right.
So if these regulations are being implemented or immediately they are passed, let us start enforcing immediately, because that is what we need to help ourselves in this current plastic tsunami that we have found ourselves in.
Interesting. I want to say a big thank you to you, Melody, for your time with us on the show today. Since the enforcement started in Lagos, I knew I needed to talk about plastic waste one more time. But the only problem I have with this country, which she pointed out, is enforcement. When we start a process, we have so much energy. The officers that are put in charge, they do all they can to ensure that they are true to the course. You know, no bribes. They are following strictly. Then after 6 months, you see everybody withdrawing. In another 6 months, making it a year, they are not only just withdrawn from their responsibility, they are also looking for ways to make money off it. I don't know if it's a Nigerian thing, if it's a human thing, or it's a Nigerian thing. They started with so much energy and vigor in Lagos. All eyes are on them to see if they will continue. And if by this time next year, we will not be seeing sachet alcoholic drinks there. Now, these drinks that they are banning in Lagos, it means the producers are going to pack them to the other states that they did not put a stop to the drinks. They don't want to lose money.
Yeah.
So states like Edo, if you think you have too much plastic, you haven't seen anything yet. It's going to get worse. The danger of styrofoam, if you really take your time to read about it, you open your mouth, it won't close. Those plates are going to come to our state and other states that are not doing anything to stop it. So, like Melody said, we need to key in and key in fast. We all need to be speaking one voice concerning this old plastic waste thing. And as we are talking about putting a stop, we need to be creating alternatives and making them as available and accessible, cost friendly too. If it's more expensive to manage bottles, and I'm going to be breaking bottles a whole lot, I won't want to leave my plastic. So then it means we need to get wood, and the wood needs to be of good quality. We don't even have wood to roof our houses. Okay, so if wood will not work, then stainless steels will have to be made available. There are so many options, but they have to be available and affordable. Then Nigerians can hear you talk. But anyway, I did promise that before we end the show, there's a message from the United Nations where they did some sort of research about this plastic waste and how it affects some animals, especially using birds. So they even got some dead birds and they cut them open and brought out plastics that they've ingested from their bodies. When scientists are doing their experiments, they use animals. Then, if it's going to affect an animal, chances are it will affect a human. So just imagine if that was a human being they were cutting open and bringing out all of those from it. Those of you that still cook moi moi with cellophane, this video is for you. All right, so we'll just push play to that one and maybe it's about you, and we're done for the show today.
Plastic is wonderful because it's durable, and plastic is terrible because it is durable. Almost every piece of plastic ever made is still on the planet in some form or another. Plastic production globally this year is expected to be more than 300 million tonnes.
Half of which we'll use just once and then throw away. By 2050, when the population explodes to almost 10 billion people, it's expected that plastic production will triple. The problem with that is that today only a fraction of the plastic that we produce is recycled. The rest ends up in our environment, and it's coating our land and our oceans like a disease.
Garbage thrown away in the United States can make its way to Antarctica. Plastic in our coastal waters is pulled into the centre of massive wind-driven, churning circular gyres. There are many other ocean currents also diverting the trash all around the surface of the ocean. In reality, it's just one ocean with no boundaries. Lord Howe Island is a World Heritage Site and home to migratory seabirds like the shearwater.
Seabirds are incredibly helpful because they act like an army of scientists. They travel thousands of miles across the ocean. They pick up plastic off the surface of the ocean. They bring it back to their rookeries where they feed it to their chicks. And that provides an incredible amount of scientific data in terms of where the plastic comes from, its distribution, and how it breaks up on the ocean surface. Dr. Jennifer Lavers, she'd devoted her life to studying the plight of seabirds. Shearwaters are incredible birds. They migrate thousands of miles, stopping only here to breed.
Yeah, the stomach is very, very full, and if we look here, there's some very dark pieces, some very light white pieces, and if you see, you know, as I push on this, it's absolutely rigid, completely full of plastic all the way up.
Oh, look at that.
Absolutely, this bird died as a result of that plastic. That is literally a gut full of plastic. It's quite alarming, isn't it?
Oh, that's awful.
Range of plastic types and colours. We've got everything from the blues and the reds
His
to the
stomach's just filled with it. Big pieces too.
big
Like
sharp
heavy.
pieces.
Oh wow, look at the size of that big black piece.
That is an enormous piece of plastic.
Unbelievable. Look at the size of that. Jen, I counted 234 pieces of plastic out of that one bird. Is that a record?
Not even close, unfortunately. So for the species, the record is 276 pieces of plastic inside of one 90-day-old chick. And that plastic, when we weighed it out, accounted for 15% of that bird's body mass. So that's a pretty scary statistic. If we translate that into human terms, it gets even worse. That would be equivalent to you and I having somewhere around 6 or 8 kilos of plastic inside of your stomach. It's equivalent to about 12 pizzas worth of food inside of your stomach. It's quite a bit of plastic for just one little bird. The parents were trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of squid beaks in here, and this purple colour is evidence of the squid ink. It's just a shame that every now and then they got it wrong and got it wrong in a bad way. Really is quite an overwhelming thing. I do have some pretty rough days, have to go home and really wrap my mind around where do we go from here.
As a Pacific Islander, I know that the ocean is in deep trouble. The very authoritative prediction shows that by the year 2050, there'll be as much plastic as there is fish in the ocean by weight. Every country uses plastic. We need to start rationalizing that. We need to think about reuse of plastic, single-use plastic. It's got to be on its way out. And you know, plastic shopping bags are a good example of that. Your family does not need to use them. Take a cloth bag with you when you go shopping and put your shopping in there. There's an equivalent of a large garbage truck every minute of every day backing up to the ocean and just dumping plastic into it. We really have to look at ourselves and say, do we deserve this beautiful ocean that was given to us?